All right, thanks, you guys, for being here. So I wanted to open this up with the first question for Zachary. In playing such an inspirational person, are there any habits or perspectives you learned about Kurt Warner that you've adopted yourself?
He's right there, too.
Yeah,
He's right there.
It's not awkward at all.
Last mannerism. I mean, everything. I do a lot of this now, hovering over people's shoulders. No, I don't know. To be perfectly honest, I mean, I think the most important thing we were all trying to find was just making sure that we told their story as honestly and as authentically as possible, but with the essence of who they are. It's a very difficult thing to just jump in with this whole movie came together in a very miraculous way very quickly. And I was very grateful that I had at least a few days, to meet these guys before we started shooting. And then they were on set with us, which was both a little nerve-wracking, but also a huge blessing because we had this resource to go to. I tried to get some of the football mannerisms that his family was telling about, his weird hand and
There were certain
lips,
things that you should have done and certain things that you leave out of the movie, right? The good things you put in the movie, the bad things you leave out.
Yeah. But I brought all those good things. So, really,
You brought some of the bad, too, so my kids are excited about that. Like, oh, he's doing dad right there.
That's right. So all of that, all of the above, yeah.
Kurt, the next question is for you. And what does it mean for you to tell your story and inspire others?
Well, as you're going through the journey, you're never really quite sure why you go through the journeys that you go through. And a big part of, as you see in the movie, Brenda and I struggling through the things that we did, we think, oh, this is all about shaping us for who we want to be long term. But in that process, and obviously getting to the NFL, one of the things Brenda and I thought about often in those early stages was, oh, maybe a part of the reason why we went through all that stuff and we're here now is to be able to share our story and impact people with it. Now, never really thought it was going to be on a big screen, but we've tried to do that in our lives through our foundations and through all of those things. So when it comes to the point where somebody says, hey, we want to put, your story on the big screen, that's the first thing that you think about is that I believe this story, and when you see the movie, there are so many elements to this story that will connect with so many different people. It isn't just about a guy that's a dreamer and wants to play in the National Football League. There's more depth to this story, and there's more stories that fit into this movie that are those underdog stories. And to us, that's the exciting part, is that we believe everybody that steps in the movie theater will leave with something, will leave inspired by one of the stories that's in there. And that's what was important to us when we finally got to the point where all these great people came together and we said, they're actually going to do this thing. That was our goal with this movie.
Anna, the next question is for you. You've been in such a wide range of films, from art house dramas to the X-Men franchise. What do you feel was unique about this experience?
Oh, gosh. And by the way, thanks for making me follow that. That was not intimidating at all. What was unique about this experience? Well, I mean, playing somebody who in real life is alive and part of the project and part of the process, and is obviously there's some nerves around that, but also it's a unique luxury to actually get to ask the person. So in this moment, get to the little details that no script or no book or whatever interview is going to really pick up on, and that was really special. And I love Brenda, so I also got a really cool new friend out of it.
Brenda, this next question is for you. People in St. Louis fell in love with your son, Zach, years ago, and the rest of the country will too after seeing this film. What do you hope people take away from Zach's story?
Wow, good question. Zach's story is one that will inspire so many different kinds of people. When I was pregnant with him, I had big dreams like every mother. He's going to be something amazing and beautiful and president or whatever he can be. And when life hits and hits hard, your life changes in an instant. And he didn't deserve it. None of us do. It just was so unfair. But watching this little boy with the spirit that was just like, I can do it. I can do it. And nobody had to teach him that. It's a beautiful story, and he's 32 years old, and to know that he honestly doesn't know anything about what's going on, but he is going to love the reaction that people give him because he loves people, and his vision is in this movie. He's legally blind, but the way he sees people and loves people, it's shown in this movie. I think it's going to touch a lot of people.
And just a follow-up question on that, Anna and Zach, can you talk about Hayden, who was cast in this role and is something special as well?
Well, Hayden's just an extraordinary small human, as well as being a very talented actor, and he's incredibly smart, and he's really nice, and which are all, good positive things. And just really took to it so easily. You wouldn't guess by watching him that he'd never been on a set before, and was very eager to actually be part of the process, and and be helpful and be part of it, as opposed to just having kind of managed the kid.
Yeah, and I would add, having gotten to spend some time with Zach, you sense the light that shines. There's this unadulterated love. There is no guile. There is no agenda. It is just he's living his life so purely because he's doing him, and there is always just a kindness and a light around him. And I don't know that we could have found a better cipher than Hayden. Hayden, though he does not struggle with all of the same things that Zach struggles with, he is also legally blind.
He's not legally blind. He's completely blind.
I didn't. Oh, legally.
There is a difference. Yeah.
Legally completely blind, and is sunshine incarnate. He would walk onto the set, and no matter how long the day had been, no matter how grueling or whatever it is, he would walk on, and everyone would just melt a little bit. Everyone would just feel better about what we were doing. We would feel inspired a little bit more. And also, it really kind of holds you accountable, because when there's a child who's basically never done this before, and he and his mother, Shannon, who's lovely, who was basically walking him through all of his blocking. Here's the table. Here's the door. And he is memorizing all of it and all of his lines. And all of us, are eyed and bodied and everything else. And his work ethic, his overall demeanor just puts everybody to shame. It really puts everything into context. So I hope that kid's star just continues to rise and rise and rise, and he continues to be sunshine for everybody else in the world, because he is. And everybody will see that in the movie.
Andy, this next one's for you. And I guess for you, John, as well. What was it about Kurt's story that you felt needed to be told as a movie?
For John and I, we love true stories, and we ultimately choose stories of kind of redemption of the human spirit. And so an underdog story was something we had really wanted to do. But, John and I started in sports. And so I was a cameraman for ESPN for a long time, and the only Super Bowl I ever worked was Kurt's second Super Bowl. And I knew the kind of the sports legend side of that story, but I always looked at the interaction that he had with the woman in the stands. It was, this Marine, spiky-haired, really cool, beautiful woman that was in the stands, and they had this partnership, and it wasn't like he had a cheerleader in the stands. He had a partner, and I always looked at it and said, I want to know the story behind that. So when John and I got a chance to sit down with Kurt and Brenda, the first thing we asked them is like, what do you think your story is? What do you see it as? And Kurt said, I feel like this isn't about me on the football field. I feel like this is about my partnership with my wife and us fighting for our family, and ultimately our son, Zach, kind of inspiring that journey. And I said, that's a movie we want to tell. And so as we dug into that story, and then it was really a partnership with them. I mean, I think they pushed us to make this a really good representation of who they are. And I think that we brought the expertise of how to kind of craft that into a film. And then when we brought, Zach and Anna into that process, we brought them in as collaborators too, to say, try to figure out what makes these guys tick and bring that to the screen. And we just have a policy of best idea wins. And so I think it was just this beautiful kind of collaboration for us as a group, but really exploring that idea of finding hope. And so it's kind of a love letter to dreamers, dreamers that chase a dream that they think will never happen.
John, how does this movie further your goal of presenting faith-filled stories to a broader audience?
Well, when we did this film, I can only imagine we landed on this phrase, a rush of hope. And that's probably the connective tissue in the stories that we tell. Is we love to tell true stories, and we wanted to just create this rush of hope. And so the goal of this film was always about telling this story and us getting the story right. We talked about it so many times, but to reinvigorate the dreams of the audience, to rekindle the dreams of the audience, to people to watch this film and say, you know what, if they can accomplish their dreams, maybe we can accomplish ours, and we can do it together. And the idea that nobody wins alone, and faith is infused in this entire story. Faith in God, faith in a dream, faith in each other. And I just think that those are themes that we need right now. So I love the timing of the film, that this is coming out at Christmas, when I love to see films with my entire family, and you can just go remember your dreams again. You know, it's been a year and a half of sort of suppression of our ambition and our dreams, and I love the idea of telling a story that says, you know what, sometimes even those things that everyone around you would say are impossible are not, and people seeing it on that level. And so I think that is the essence of faith, right? Is believing in something that you can't see, that doesn't exist, and that can apply to many things in this story.
This next one is for Zachary. You've played multiple superheroes, and in this film you played an NFL hero. How does acting in football pads compare to acting in the Shazam costume?
You could have just called me. You could have just called me a superhero too. A different kind of superhero.
He said hero. Take it, and enjoy it. Well, the biggest difference is that in one of those two outfits, I could actually use the restroom unimpeded, and it was this one. No, I don't know. You know, honestly, like I'm so grateful for all of the jobs that I've been able to do. I pinch myself. I mean, I'm sure you can attest to this, that we're even still doing what we're doing. There's so many people that we came up with in Hollywood and whatever, and you know, they're friends of mine, that those things didn't materialize. Those longer lasting dreams didn't materialize. And to sit here and be talking about this, that I got to play this guy, and we made a really good movie that people are already enjoying, like all of that is super, super cool. But you know, being a superhero, there's inspiration involved in that, but it's ultimately a fictional character. You're not. You can still bring incredible inspiration, no doubt, but to tell a true story that is so much larger than life, something that, you know, one would say you can't script that, even though we did and we made a movie about it. But the point is, that is an inspiration that's a whole nother level. That's a whole nother. It feels like more of a superhero, because I do think at the end of the day, and this isn't just paying him lip service, but at the end of the day, or really both of you guys for that matter.
They're sitting behind you.
They are sitting right behind me, I'm sure doing like bunny ears and things. But that level, a true story, something that we as human beings can look at and saw it in real time, and we're already relating to it and being inspired by it. But there's so much more context. There's so much more depth. There's so much more about their relationship, the relationship that Kurt had with Zach, and how that was a part of even, you know, the galvanization of the love story that you guys ultimately had and have even now. That kind of stuff, the hope that it inspires, the things that you're talking about. I mean, look, I love playing superheroes. The little kid in me, comic book reader, is geeking out every time I do that. But at the end of the day, as performers, as entertainers, you're hoping that you're making content that is really doing the most deep, good impact in the world. And I feel like we got to accomplish that with this, for sure, in spades.
All right, Kurt, the next one is for you. What was your Hail Mary moment, the moment in your life or career where you just had to go for it and it worked out?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, I
This
think,
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, man, I hope this works. Oh, God.
Well, I mean, I think it's depicted really well in the movie. Is there was a moment in the movie and earlier in my career where I didn't do that, where I stepped back and I was afraid to fail more than I was willing to try to succeed. And I was fortunate that I got a second chance to do that. But it was a moment in my life where I said, never again. You know, never up to that point, but you come to a point sometimes in life where you're so afraid to do something because you might mess it up instead of embracing what that moment is. And so that was the moment that kind of changed everything. And from that moment forward, it was like, embrace it. So when I did take over for the Rams, you know, a lot of people are looking and going, oh, this team's got no chance. Are you kidding me? Who is this guy? Where's he come from? And people ask me all the time, did you know you were going to have that kind of success? Now, I didn't know I was going to have that kind of success that quickly, but there was no doubt. There was no doubt when I stepped in there that I was going to, like Dick Vermeil said, I was going to play well. We were going to play good football, but it stemmed from that moment where I stepped back and was afraid to do that. And it's kind of how I learned, and I've tried to apply that to everything I do in life now. Is you go for it. You got to be willing sometimes to be the reason that your team wins. And sometimes you got to be willing to be the reason that your team loses by putting yourself in those moments. And it was something that I learned in that moment that everybody will see when they see the movie.
Brenda, for you, what does it mean to you that your story shows an underdog story on the field and for blended families?
Oh, wow. It obviously, when I was going through it, if you would have told me that there was going to be a movie, I mean, there's no way I'd believe it. Those are real life hard times. I can relate to those more than I relate to a movie. It's just the person sitting in that chair, in that seat, watching this movie is going to relate to those times in my life. And I am not special in that way. I don't have superpowers. I am just a person doing the best I can. That it's going to show that. It's really inspiring just sitting there knowing that I'm a flawed person, but I get my story told.
I'm just going to jump onto that.
She's amazing, and she is a superhero. And
Yes.
all of that
Superhero
stuff
without
that
a
she said
cape.
about not being special is a complete lie.
I think you are a superhero, and I think a lot of stuff what you do, and both of you do charity-wise, and as much as you give back, is so inspiring. Can you talk
Thank
a
you.
little bit about
Appreciate it.
how you do that, why you do that, and what it means to you?
I'm gonna jump on real quick on the last question because I think it's powerful, because what you know when you make a movie about your life, that there's certain moments and themes in this movie that people may watch the movie and they may not ever get those things, but it were important for us to put in there. And so one of the themes is I was raised by a single mom, and a lot of people, you'll hear the term all the time, oh, it's a single mom, and do you really want to take on that baggage? And so a lot of people look at that when they come into a situation like that. And one of the things that was poignant to me that I think even came, more to my mind in watching the movie was I was that baggage early on for my mom. And she didn't get to live the life that I know she wanted because of some of those, stereotypes and things that went with it. And that, to me, I think is a huge and powerful message in this movie, is that it would have been easy when that first moment, hey, this is my deal, for me to go, okay, I don't want to take that on. And in taking that on, or at least exploring that, I came to realize the two blessings that I received: a 32-year-old son, 29-year-old daughter, grandkids now, all of those things, because I was willing to step in and go, no, that's not what they are. That's not what I was early on. And I do think that is a powerful, powerful message that this movie can share, even if they don't understand all the underneath layers that go into that storyline. Sorry, do you want us to go?
Go with the charity angle, though, because I think it's important you guys talk about that.
Well, when you watch the movie, when you sit through the credits, at the end you will see this story end in a beautiful way because of Zach's life and because it went the way it did. We just got to the point in our lives that we're here to figure out how to help others do what we've done. That's this movie. And when Zachary graduated high school, if you have a child with special needs, you're done with any help at all. You're on your own. And so Kurt and I looked at each other and said, we got to do something. He needs and deserves a full life, just like our other 6 kids. And so we decided to build this residential facility for adults with intellectual disability called Treasure House. And it was just a thought. I called him and said, I think we're supposed to do this, and I don't know how to do it. We need to find people that know how to do it. And now here we are today. It's full. It's full, and they're living their best life. That, to me, is why we went through all we went through, that we are here to say there's hope. Zachary is shining, and it doesn't look like my other kids, but it is absolutely a beautiful life. When I dreamed when I was pregnant that he would live an amazing life, he gets to do that. We get to be a part of it and watch these young adults just flourish, have peers. Treasure House needs to be in every state because the need is there. So that's my baby. That's my champion. I want to be able to share it with the country. So this is just the stepping off point.
I'd say it a whole lot better. As she said, Treasure House is full. And remember when we got it full and we went to the first family weekend that we had, and a couple people walked up to me and they said, we're the second person on the waiting list. And I remember that feeling because we're so excited. We're like, oh, we got our first one filled up. And it's like, we got a waiting list. In other words, our work's not done yet. Is that all of this and all of this movie and everything, the platform that we've been given has all been given for this reason, to be able to expand that and impact people's lives and continue to make sure that every family at some point has the ability to dream differently. And so it's funny, you see this movie, and so many of our programs within our foundation are based off of experiences that we went through. We're fortunate to give away a single home or a home to a single mom a week ago, because we remember that moment when we were trying to get into a home, visiting hospitals. Remember those moments when you're sitting in a hospital with your son that was injured. So much of what you see on the big screen has really been what spearheaded our mindset to say, hey, God's not done with us yet. We got a lot of work to do, and that's what it looks like in our lives right now.
Anna, this next question is for you. What are you hoping this movie will accomplish?
I can't believe you keep asking me questions right after Kurt just delivers like a soliloquy. It's really unfair.
And then they're right behind you. They're like, do I look at them? I don't know.
I feel like I'm being ganged up on. What do I hope? It's all been sort of covered by everything other people have said, but that the dreams are possible, and that the hurdles don't have to be the end of your dream, and that your dream can have a path that you would never have necessarily chosen or you couldn't predict. And I think it's really inspiring and really beautiful.
John, this question is for you. After the success of I Can Only Imagine, I Still Believe in Other films, what would American Underdog have to do in order for you to consider it a success?
Oh, gosh.
Boom. Boom.
No
Man,
pressure,
John.
Oh, my God.
What do we have to get returned at box office, John?
Oh, my God. So, first of all, I think the quest, I think we probably said it 1,000 times together, was just to get the story right. I have learned that so much of entertainment is just timing, and I love the time that this movie's coming out. To think that it's coming out wide Christmas Day, when you go see a film with your family, that's just the perfect occasion for this movie. And of course, we want people all over the country to see it, and then all over the world. But the idea is, I love the timing of the movie. We didn't expect it to be on this timing. It was put on hiatus during COVID, and then we came back right at the height of the pandemic to make the movie. But the idea that after the time we've all had, we've all gone through this time together, to sit, in a theater with your family with a story and just to be reminded of the power and possibility of your own dreams. I just think the film is needed, and that message is needed. And so, to me, I want the film to inspire the widest audience possible, and I want people to see it together. So I love the platform the film is being given. I'm blown away by the platform the film is being given. I can't wait for people to see it. And the rest is in the hands of fate and destiny. And
it's
and
that
that's what we'll do.
catch-22, isn't it? Like, we need a lot of people to go to the box office. We need to make a lot of money, but it's not to make the money.
Yeah, that's
It's because people need to see this movie.
Yeah.
And a lot of people need to see this movie because of the message. So you ask a question, and it's like, well, that's how we determine if a lot of people see it. But that's how I look at it, is that everybody needs to see this movie because they're going to be impacted by it. And it just so happens that, what comes with that is a big box office, so you have to talk about that. But it's not just to make the box office. I know that's why.
And also, that's not how you guys were creating the project.
Yeah.
It was clearly not about. I feel like when people go into a production with the sort of the one sheets already sort of printed out in their head, and they've already planned their campaign, that you're not actually really investing in the real
right.
story.
Yeah.
And the real moment to moment of what that's going to be, and
Yeah.
authenticity, and us really caring, I think will take care of the film, and
Yeah.
the audience will come.
To me, in a weird way, the movie's already done its job, in the sense that the whole idea of the movie, we say it's not about us, it's about the people sitting in the seats and the experience they're having with the movie. And just to be able to screen this film, we've been screening it all around the country, and see the response, it's just so cool to see an audience, like even doing the interviews today, people are like, I just feel great after watching this movie. I feel hopeful. I feel like this rush of optimism, and that's what we wanted to do. Yeah. And then we're able to actually put the movie out, theatrically, we believe in the theatrical experience, and then wide over Christmas, it's a huge platform. It's like sort of our own Super Bowl to have that platform.
And I'll say that, for me at least, you get to the end of a film, and usually, George Lucas says that no film is really finished. It's kind of abandoned because you just run out of time and you have to put it out. And so, you always get to that end of the journey, and you're left with those, splinters in your mind of saying, I wish I could have changed this. I sat in a theater doing the final screening of the final product 2 weeks ago, and I've never been as satisfied by a film. And that's not because of something John and I did, because really good filmmakers can try their hardest to kind of make the film they want, and it just doesn't work out because of something or other. It's just magic in a bottle that you can't predict. But when you get the right people in the room with the right story, you just get to sit back and watch magic happen. And I've never been so proud of a story. So in my mind, that is a success, and I can't wait for people to see it Christmas Day.
As you say this, it's making me think, can you talk a little bit about making this movie? You made this amazing movie that has worked out and plays so beautifully on screen, but it was COVID. Was it like the worst blizzard in Kansas City in like 40 years or something?
Yeah, in the whole
City, yeah.
middle of the country, we called it the Blizdemic. It was the worst of all of it. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we had it relatively mild considering Texas was out of power for how long? I mean, we were lucky.
Yeah, we missed the brunt of it where, Houston and Dallas got hit really hard. But for us, I think when we stepped into making the film, we had to make it in a certain window, and we were pushing against, COVID and all the things that gave every reason to not make this movie. But when Zach and Anna stepped on board that they wanted to be a part of this, we just really were passionate that, like, this movie is a completely different movie without them. And if we're going to lose them on their schedules, particularly because Zach had to move on to Shazam 2, we just said now is the time. And this movie is not nearly as good of a movie without with a different cast. So we pushed really hard to make it now. And Lionsgate rallied around that idea. We had to kind of crunch the schedule down and do a lot of things. So we were really flying at a pace that films were not meant to fly on. And luckily we had good enough actors to really adapt to that process, because it was like a full
Actors
sprint.
that have done enough indie films.
Yeah.
Or television. Yeah. I'm sorry, we're
Done
shooting
HBO, I'm
8 pages
not
a
sure
day?
that
8
counts.
pages a day? We're doing 8 pages a day. Okay, let's go.
We had somebody that was very adept at TV acting, somebody that was an independent film producer, and we just went with it. But then I think what we kind of rallied around together as a team and said is that we said, we're gonna kind of embrace the struggle that Kurt and Brenda had the deck stacked against them, and we're going to embrace the struggle, and we're going to pour it into this story. So I think every bit of the struggle we went through as a team showed up on the screen, and I think that presented the authenticity of what they went through.
And a shout out to the cast and the crew. And I mean, we were on set for a period of the time, and the hours that they worked, the way they had to push the envelope, time, just talking to these two, what a normal film looks like, and their schedules along the way. I mean, everybody committed to it and said, we're going to do this. We understand that everybody's looking and going, this is not going to be done. You're not going to have time. You're not going to have the money. And the commitment that all of these people made was incredible. And we're extremely proud of the group that we had putting this together.
And these two committed to it. I remember when that blizzard hit pretty much all of Middle America, Oklahoma, Texas specifically. We had called them and said probably don't fly in, because they were flying in and out because it sounded like it could be pretty dangerous. And I thought that message got through until I woke up the next morning at the crew hotel. The person at the front desk said, there's a guy out shoveling snow in the parking lot, getting cars out, and we've investigated it. It's NFL legend Kurt Warner. It's literally out shoveling. He's like, I'm from Iowa, I can do this. So it was just that level of commitment to Kurt was literally shoveling cars out of the.
We had a movie to make.
But that was the spirit of
get my people to the movie.
Well,
You're not
shoveling out snow.
intimidatingly awesome at all.
Yeah, shoveling snow and helping get cars out while simultaneously building a snowman with Hayden, I believe, right? Yeah. Who is this guy?
Boy Scout here.
So this question is for you, Brenda. So obviously this is a process. This took years. Leaps of faith in these two men to make the movie, and then you see these two live as they're performing it, and then you see the movie. What's that journey, and how sort of scary was it, and are you, and how do you feel now?
They're right.
I know.
We'll just leave for this.
How terrified were you,
The Erwin
Brenda?
Brothers. We'll step out.
Oh, don't turn around when I'm speaking, please. Keep looking forward. Okay. Basically, this is not my world, obviously. And so when, they wanted to do this, when I look in when I look in their eyes and they look me back with this honesty and this truth and they get what I'm about, then I'll give a little bit more. I have a lot of walls up. You have to prove yourself to me. And it's not easy. I'm not an easy person. And so when they started this journey with us, when I could look them in the eye and feel that way, then it's like, let's keep going. Let's keep going. On set, watching, I would call Kurt and say, you don't understand how many people. And it's humbling. It was honestly shocking to me, having no idea how many hands go into this. And then, not even knowing how somebody's going to portray you, what am I going to do if she didn't do it well, And then to be able to look in her eyes and know that she cared enough to do it right. This journey has been weird and wonderful, but this group of people helped me in that journey and keep trusting. And here we are today, and I would trust them with my life.
I love that word trust because we talked about it. You get different renditions of the movie along the way, and it's so personal to you. When you watch it, the first time you're like, oh, they put that in, or Zach said it like that, and you get hung up on, oh, he didn't do it exactly like I would have said it, or something like that. And so it's hard in the early process because you're so connected to it. And at one point, Brenda said, okay, this time when we watch it, you're going to forget that it's your story, and you're going to sit back and just watch the movie. You're going into a theater, you got your popcorn, just watch the movie. And when we finally did that is when it really took life of its own, where you're like, you realize how powerful it was. The vision that these two guys had, through that collaboration to go, trust us that we got this. I know you wanted that scene. It doesn't work. I know you want us to do that. It doesn't work. These two, I don't know how many times they had to tell us, we're not making a documentary. Kurt, I don't have to walk like you. I don't have to throw every pass like you. I'm trying to get you across on the big screen to everyone. And when you can step back and realize that, and you see the talent, and you see the gifts, and you see they made it us, but it's them making it us, them being them, and how special they are. That was the moment where you go, now I get it. And you can sit back and you be proud of everybody's role in this, not because it made the movie that you necessarily wanted it to make in the beginning, what your vision is, but because we made the right movie. And it was the right movie because of everybody's hand doing them while connecting our story to it.
It was also as a team. It was teamwork. Because I was doing an interview earlier today, and one of the scenes that made the audience, the guy who was interviewing us, really cry was a scene that we had written a certain way, and then Kurt pulled us aside and said, "Hey, you know what? This is how I sort of saw it in my head, and this is exactly how it happened." And he found the footage of you guys getting married, and there's this point where they put their foreheads together, and we're like, "Oh, let's do it. That's much better than the script. Let's." And I say that having helped write it, it was so there was that give and take, and it was just a team striving to get it right and make the process and job worth it. And so it was a great, I've not ever had this sort of level of just collaboration and partnership with the source, and it infused truth into the movie in a very special way.
Good story. You're not telling them about the times that I text you at 4 a.m. and you're like, Kurt, that's a dumb idea. We can't do that for the movie. That is not going to make the movie. Sorry, we're not going there.
But the two commitments we made to these guys, and I think, it was a real tribute to having the right cast, because I think Zach and Anna showed up as collaborators, not as actors there for a paycheck. And they showed up and really said, we want to get this right. We won't want it to be caricature, but we're not going to mail it in. And this has got to be, authentically honest. And I think they fought for that. But the thing that I talked to Kurt and Brenda early on, and I told to Brenda this over and over again, I said, we're making two commitments to you. Number one, we're going to make your story honest to your experience. Number two, we're going to fight really hard to make a good movie, and we're not going to let you make a bad movie. And so we're going to fight for where's the compromise in those two things. So sometimes I would have to say, I love that story, I love that idea, but that makes a bad movie. But then other times I would listen and say, they'd be like, you didn't get it. And we're like, okay, we're going to try it a different way. We want to be honest. And these two on the front row fought really hard to dig deep in a very insecure place where they're being watched by the real people critiquing it. And they fought to really kind of find that honesty, and I think it shows up on the screen.
Well, I was just so moved by you guys' story because I'm from New Zealand, and I'm sorry, I'd never heard of you. So I got to read the script as like just an audience member going, and then this happens, and then this happens. I mean, it's an extraordinary story, and you don't walk onto a set with those people in real life without really, really committing to doing, even if it doesn't end up working perfectly, or it's not the movie that we all dreamed of, that at least that they know, and I can look Brenda in the eye, that she knows I really, really tried and I really committed to it. Because that's, I think, ultimately what we owe these guys, you know?
And it's not that I didn't try to walk or talk or throw like Kurt, but as Andy was saying, there's the good movie, and then there's the movie you don't want to make. And I wanted to make sure he looked good. That's all. That's all. That's all. He's right there. He's right there.
There were some absolutes that had to.
Yeah.
There was parameters we had to hit.
100%.
These two might be a little competitive, so, you know.
You think? Well, we're out of time. Congratulations. It definitely worked for me. I cried 7 times the first time I saw it.
Yes. Next time we're going for 8.
Yeah, bring your own Kleenex.
Bring your Kleenex.
Thank you very much.
And thank
Thanks,
you,
guys.
everybody,
Appreciate
for
you guys.
spending time
Thank
with
you.
us. Have a good day.